teachers, let's start our discussion. So as we all know, scripts are considered the heart of our radio broadcast. So, aside from ganda ng boses at galing ng pagkakadeliver ng ating radio broadcasters, one factor for the success of the radio production for our broadcast performance is the script. Although importante naman lahat, technical aspect, and then yung galing ng broadcasters. So in order to provide the best with regards to script, we must have to be familiar with the different technicalities of it. So, ano bang klaseng atake ang pwede nating gawin for us to get the attention of our student listeners? Most especially po yung elementary pupils natin dahil sila po yung medyo maikling attention span, lalo na po yung nasa primary. And another thing, kapag pare-parehong atake lang po ang naririnig nila or i-air natin, baka magsawa din sila. So familiar na sila dun sa magiging practice natin or style ng ating radio teachers. So iba pa din kapag may variation yung pinapakinggan nila araw-araw. And that is the reason why we have to discuss these approaches. The first approach in radio script writing is straight narration or teacher approach. So by the way, in these approaches po, you must have anchors, but they will not be the one who will discuss the lesson. They are just going to help the radio teacher in doing the broadcast, like giving a reviews, retest. They can also give the evaluation and the post-broadcast. So it means, hindi lang solo ni radio teacher yung pagpe-present ng lessons sa radio sa kahit alinmang approach na mapipili ninyo dito sa mga ipe-present ko. So laging andyan ang anchor or anchors. Straight narration or teacher approach includes narration of facts and messages in a straightforward manner. So the lesson itself will be narrated by the radio teacher. And in this approach, we address our listeners in the third person. And in my opinion lang po much better if we have at least 2 radio teachers. So discussing the topic. So pero depende pa din po yan sa inyo as script writers kung paano nyo gagawin ang script. Kung magagawa nyo isa lang yung radio teacher, pwede naman. Basta ang malinaw in this kind of script, we use the pronouns in the third person. So, for example, so ganito yung maririnig natin, halimbawa na script ng radio teacher. For them to get the exact answer in this kind of problem solving, they are going to blah blah blah. So, andun yung presence ng pronouns in the third person, yung them and they. So, example lang po yun. So, this is how they are going to make the lines of the teacher in this kind of script. So, mas evident yung use of pronouns in the third person. So, this approach is also considered as the most formal and the basic way in presenting the subject matter because what the radio teacher does is purely narration of the given topic. And they are just teaching the students, they are just discussing the lesson in front of the students, but through radio. So after po nang may discuss ko or may present ko yung different approaches, magpapakita po kami magpapakita po ako sa inyo ng sample scripts po nito. So punta po tayo dun sa pangalawa. The second one is the dramatic approach. So in this approach, you present the lesson na parang may gagawa ka ng kwento, gagawa ka ng story. So this is quite difficult, lalo na pag limited yung time natin to do the script, especially as teachers. So marami po tayong trabaho aside sa pagtuturo sa new normal. Pero for those teachers na may talent naman in creating stories, medyo magugustuhan nila to. And then mag-i-enjoy po tayo. So, and of course, this approach is best, in my opinion, kasi mas madali nating makuha yung attention ng student listeners natin. So, na-deliver kasi natin ang lesson in a way na parang nakikinig lang sila ng drama sa radio, and I guess we can surely get their 100% attention. And this approach is best then kapag yung, excuse lang po, yun. This approach is best din kapag yung subject na ipipresent natin ay scheduled sa time na medyo pagod na or antok na yung mga students natin. For example, yung lesson may ipipresent ng mga 10 or 1 or 11, okay, doon na taon. So since you create a story, syempre, you have characters depicting various roles. So every character has their own dialogue. You have the conflict, climax, anticlimax, and resolution. So in short, yung elements ng narrative is present. Another challenge din po sa script nito is that kailangang magagaling umarte yung mga broadcasters na i-assign natin. So magaling silang magpakita ng different emotions. So ang tanong natin, bati pa ba kayo ng co-teacher mong broadcaster after neto? Pinahirapan natin sila. Pero flexible naman at talented tayo mga teachers, di po ba? Tama po ba ako? So for sure, pag may makagawa ng ganitong script at makapag-present, okay, very good kayo. So pwede namang light lang yung story na gagawin natin. Hindi naman yung sobrang dramatic na parang iiyak-iyak talaga, sobrang bigat ang mga eksena. Okay, gawin lang nating light para hindi naman masyadong mahirap sa broadcasters natin. And based sa experience namin last year kasi although cluster 6 yung gumagawa halos lahat ng script, so nabigyan yung cluster 1. So yung DES at FEB at yun, to schools lang. So kayang-kaya naman po ng mga teacher broadcasters namin yung ganong style. Then we have, okay, malinaw na po ba yung first two approaches? Okay, punta na tayo sa third approach. So yung third approach po natin is you approach. So bakit you? So the script using this approach is written as if the writer is talking directly to the listeners. Kaya you approach. And so, listeners are addressed directly by the word you. And according to Sir Mark Lester de la Cruz opinion, so siya yung lecturer namin during sa training namin nung regional training namin sa RBI. Ayon sa kanya, mas gusto nila yung approach nito kasi nga mas ramdam daw ng mga student listeners natin na sila talaga yung kausap ng radio teacher. So you still have the anchor or anchors, then you have one radio teacher discussing the lessons wherein the use of the pronoun you is visible as she goes on or he goes on with the lesson. So for example, in a sentence with singular subject, you have to use the be verbs is or was depending on the tense of the verb to be used. So nakita natin doon or narinig natin doon na present yung pronoun na you. So parang medyo magkahawig lang sila ng first approach na sinabi ko. Kaya nga lang, yung first approach na sinabi ko ay pronouns in the third person naman yung ginagamit. Dito naman, you. So this approach can be considered as the most appropriate approach in teaching using RBI. Kasi dito, parang katulad lang nung nagbabasa or nagsasagot sila sa learning packets or modules nila. And also, this is the easiest way or approach then in writing a script. So ito yung pinakamadaling gawin. And ang disadvantage lang nito in my opinion lang, is medyo boring siya compared to other approaches. But it also depends on how creative or good a radio teacher is. So, yung challenge dito is on the radio teacher. Kailangan mataas yung energy niya, may energy siya, and she or he knows how to play with her or his voice and good speaker talaga para makuha pa din niya ang attention ng students. And in that way, this approach will be best kasi, yun nga, So sinabi ko kanina, mafe-feel ng bata na, ay, ako yung kinakausap ni teacher. For sure, habang nakikinig sila sa radio, teacher, sumasagot din yung mga estudyante natin kasi nga hawak din nila yung kanilang mga modules. So may konting pagkakapareho nga, okay, ulitin ko, yung you approach at ang teacher approach. Next po, okay, may message, Sir Argel.
Sir Argel, hindi ko makita ano.
Kasi nga po, nakakalungkot. Tama, Sir Argel. Ang dami pong naka-register for this training po. Pero, konti lang po yung nakapasok.
Totoo.
Paano po yun, ma'am? Marami naman po kasi kaming willing na sana gustong pumasok. Kaso nga lang po, hindi nga po nakapag-register. Pwede po kaya, ma'am, since konti lang naman ang pumasok, ma'am, pwede pong papasukin namin yung willing po.
Pwede naman po siguro, sir.
Sige kung willing sila.
Kaya
Sige po, maraming salamat.
Yung certificate, yun lang
Okay,
yung hindi namin sure.
Yes, ma'am, okay lang po yun, ma'am, kahit walang certificate, the fact na may matututunan at maraming sasalo ng itinuturo niya malaking tulong na po iyan, ma'am. Sige po, mag-i-invite po kami, ma'am. Salamat po.
Sige po, wait po namin, sir, ng mga ilang minutes. Matatapos na kasi ako sa approaches.
Opo, ma'am, kahit diretso na lang po kayo, ma'am. Mag-i-invite lang po. Sige po.
The way so recorded naman po to.
Opo, maraming salamat po, Ma'am Rona, Ma'am Bernadette.
Wait lang.
Di ko pala nakikita yung messages kasi ako, project.
So, nandun na po tayo. So, yung first approach natin. Ano nga po yung first approach natin kanina? Yung teacher approach. Okay, which we use the pronouns in the third person in creating the script. And then, dramatic approach. Story type naman tayo. And then, you approach, visible yung gamit ng pronoun na you. So, doon na po tayo sa fourth approach. So, 6 approaches lang naman po to. So, it means malapit na pa akong matapos. And I hope po na nakita niyo po yung pagkakaiba ng bawat approaches na na-present ko. So, the fourth approach is dialogue. So, the basic element of this approach is conversation. So, it is like a talk show type wherein you have a host, then you have invited guests who have much knowledge with the topic. So the host will then give questions for the invited guests to answer, and in that manner, the lesson will be discussed. So, sa pamamagitan po ng batuhan ng questions, then sasagot si guest, may didiscuss na po nila yung lesson. So, sa ganung paraan lang po. So, if you're familiar po with Magandang Buhay, or yung Mars, mga ganong palabas sa TV. Yan, sensya na po. Okay, so unlike dramatic approach then, yung fourth approach natin, di mo na kailangan gumawa pa ng story. Kasi nga interview lang siya. Okay, tapos direct conversation na siya na may questions and answers between 2 or more persons. Pero pag ito po yung gagamitin natin, so just make sure lang po na yung invite natin na guest or yung interviewin natin ay yung tao po na may knowledge talaga dun sa topic natin para kapanipaniwala naman po. And then, the fifth one po is the documentary approach. So, this approach is the combination of different approaches with the use of a voice clip, sound effects to make the presentation realistic and more credible. So this is the most conflicting one. So pag mahirap yung dramatic approach for us na gawin, mas mahirap to and mas matrabaho para sa technicals natin. So sa approach na to, para mabuo mo is that you are going to gather interviews from reliable persons. to make your claim credible about a particular topic. So mostly, voice clips ang laman ng script natin pag eto yung ipepresent natin. So, you still have anchor or anchors, then you have a radio teacher, and while discussing the topic, sisingit yung mga recorded voice clips during the presentation of the lesson. So parang ang dating ay yung katulad kung sa TV natin i-compare ha, parang mga Jessica Soho type. So although documentary ang dating niya, maging maingat pa din tayo na masusunod natin yung standards of writing an RBI script. So this approach also is mas advisable sa audiovisual broadcasting. So parang hindi siya masyadong medyo mahirap gawin kapag broadcasting lang na audio lang yung maririnig ng bata. Then this kind of approach is, I think, applicable sa history or some lessons in science, sa opinion ka lang, kung pipilitin talaga nating gumawa ng ganitong klaseng script. So, pero, ika nga, pahihirapan pa ba natin yung sarili natin? 'Di ba? So,
Pero maganda siya.
pag nakabuo tayo. So, pero limited yung time natin, so, siguro, kung talagang masigasig si teacher na makagawa siya ng ganito, may challenge sa sarili niya. So, kakayanin niya yung ganitong klaseng script. So, kaya nga hindi siya gamitin. So, paunahan ko na din. Wala rin akong nakitang sample ng script na to. So, the last one is the abstract or symbolic approach. So, this one includes sound and abstract visuals kasi nga nasa audio pala kasi nasa radio nga tayo. So, and in my opinion, this one is good only for the arts and is applicable only for senior high school students. And kasi for sure, hindi makaka-relate dito yung mga elementary pupils natin. So, medyo mahirap siya for lower levels kasi nga, in this approach, you are going to use sounds and the ideas are not stated explicitly and the audience are the ones who will make their own interpretation of the information presented in this kind of approach. Kaya nga sinabi ko na parang tawag dito, applicable lang siya for senior high kasi 'di ba parang may literary arts silang subject. So doon. So also you can put an infomercial sa script. So kapag halimbawa sa infomercial siguro may mga ano naman dito dati ng advisor or trainer ng broadcasting, so meron tayong infomercial. So, pwede nating lagyan ng infomercial yung script kapag, for example, may oras pa naman for infomercial and then, mas maganda din kapag related sa lesson yung infomercial na ilalagay or something relevant to education. So, pero limited nga yung time natin sa presentation ng scripts natin.
Ma'am Rona?
Yes, sir.
Excuse me ma'am, sorry po. May pumapasok daw po, makikisuyo po sana, ma-confirm po.
Na-admit na daw po, sir.
Maraming salamat po.
Okay, ayan pa ulit. Okay, so, yun lang po. 6 approaches that we can use in developing our scripts. So, RBI scripts. So, kayang-kaya po, di ba? So kapag may tanong po kayo sa topic namin, mamaya po after po ng, 4 po kasi yung topic na i-discuss namin today. So after po na ma-discuss yung 4 na topics, magkakaroon pa tayo ng Q&A. So malinaw na po ba yung 6 approaches? Kayang-kaya po ba?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, eto po yung samples. Wait lang po ha. Okay, so eto po yung sample scripts natin. Nakikita na po ba?
Yes, ma'am.
Ayan. So, this one po, yung unang example natin. So, as we can see, Okay, we have two anchors. Okay, sila yung nagsimula ng broadcast. So by the way, ilalagay naman po namin to sa classroom natin. Okay, so dito natin makikita sa lesson proper yung approach na ginamit ni scriptwriter. So, ni-introduce niya si, yan, medyo malayo-layo pa. Okay, so ito na yung lesson proper natin. So as we can see, we have two anchors and then invited guest nila si Ma'am Gemma. So ini-interview nila, good morning ma'am, good morning sir, welcome to Deputy Dasma Radio. Tapos si Sir Noel. So may questions sila. Ayan. So as we know, context originates from the notion of weaving together. It is defined. And then, nagtanong sila ng question, how reading a literary piece may contribute to the production of the author and the reception of the reader as they appreciate and explore. So, si invited guest sasagot, that is a good question. The reader's context. O, ayan. So, sagutan sila. So, ito yung halimbawa ng dialogue approach. So, parang talk show lang. So, and then may another guest, si Sir Noel. So, madali lang. So, eto lang yung tsura ng script natin, dialogue approach. Next example po is this one. So, may story. So, ginawa to ni Sir Jonard. So, yung ginawa kasi ni Sir Jonard dito is parang anong tawag doon? Yung dramatic approach pero yung parang yung kwento, yung parang kay Danaya, yung ganang kwento, exploration.
Encantadia.
Ayan, yung parang gano'n. Yan yung naging niya, basihan.
Pala gusto mo sabihin Encantadia.
Yun. So, ito yung naging basihan niya sa paggawa ng script. So, gumawa siya ng story. So, si anchor muna din dun sa simula, sa laging anchor. Sa lesson proper na lalabas yung approach na ginamit. So, ayan. So, meron siyang characters. So, habang nag-uusap yung characters, dun lalabas ngayon yung lesson, yung discussion of the lesson. So, next example. Praise na.
Ma'am Rona, may we also request na ma-introduce po sa amin yung mga technical terms na nakikita po namin like BIZ, what are these for, ano yung ibig sabihin po nun? Para hindi po kasi lahat sa amin ay familiar po sa mga ganong terms. Kita po namin.
Opo, sir, kasama po yan sa discussion din mamaya po.
Apo, thank you.
Ayan, thank you din po. And then, you approach. So, yan. So, may anchors din. Tapos, isang radio teacher. Pagdating doon sa lesson proper, na magdi-discuss ng lesson. So, ayan na sa radio teacher. So, kinakausap na niya directly yung mga pupils. So, ganyan lang po. So, mamaya po, may topic din po na para may discuss yung mga terms na nakikita natin po dito. Okay po? Ayun. So, tingnan natin kung mag-i-improve yung result kanina. So, take po natin yung post-test.
Okay. So, thank you, Ma'am Rona, for sharing the kinds of treatment that we can actually apply when we write and when we develop our scripts. No? Meron tayong 6 na approaches and treatments. We have teacher approach, we have ano pa yun, Ma'am Rona? You approach, dramatic, my favorite. Dialogue approach, and then yung pinaka inaano nila Sir Ethan, Sir Mark is yung you approach, di ba? Nasabi ko na ata. Pero yung you approach kasi is very conversational na dapat natin na ina-apply sa script natin. Kasi di ba nasanay tayo na parang teacher approach, kapag sa radyo po, medyo hindi siya engaging pakinggan. Kasi parang nagtuturo ka lang talaga siya in a classroom setting. And even in classroom setting, iba't ibang approaches ang ginagamit natin, di ba? So, very important to remember those treatment and approaches. And now, I'm going to share with you some of the basic principles of radio script writing. Okay? Our objectives for today, pwede ako naman muna. Para. At the end of this online training or workshop, you are expected to gain holistic understanding on the different approaches and principles involved in script writing, produce a high-quality radio script following the guidelines and standards of RBI. So our goal is to really produce a high-quality radio script, a material that we can use whenever we broadcast a lesson. Okay? So I think all of us here are already familiar with radio broadcasting, di ba? Since growing up, we have been exposed to radio, di ba? At home, in school, and in our community, we've been exposed to radios. Plus, some of the participants here are campus paper advisors who have been participating in schools press conferences, di ba? Kanina nakita ko sila Ma'am Cha, sila Ma'am Weng, ayan, sila Ma'am Archel, dating trainer natin ng radio broad. Tama ba, Ma'am Rona? Opo, yan, sila Ma'am Roma. So we are very much familiar with radio broadcasting. Now, for others who are not into journalism, well, we have our respective radio stations at home. And even when we're driving, listening to music, and sometimes we hear radio broadcasts, especially on news reports happening around the country or happening around the world. Okay, yan. That's an example of a radio broadcast. And narinig ba ako nila? Hindi pala ako nag-sound check. Okay,
Yes, ma'am. Loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Sir Argel?
Yes, ma'am. Loud and clear.
Narinig po ako.
Rinig na rinig po. Yes
Kung
po.
kasi saan narinig pala?
Wala akong sound po.
Wala kang
Yes,
sound?
ma'am.
Ay, kayo pala hindi ko naririnig. Sorry po, naka-off pala ang aking audio. Thank you po. Ayan. So, nasa na ako? Okay. Now, ano po, one of the modalities that DepEd offers, di ba ngayong new normal, is RBI. Okay? And from the regional trainings that we have attended, we were taught how to transform a self-learning module into a radio script. Okay? And then that's what we're going to do today. Hopefully, ngayon pong training natin ngayong umaga ay talagang matutunan nyo kung paano gumawa ng isang quality script for radio. Okay po? Now, let's start po. I'm Bernadette Lontok from FEBIHS. And ang ating topic today is principles. Alright? So, in RBI, when we develop our script, it is very important to remember this principle. So, what do we see here? What do we see here? We have a pineapple. Thank you, Sir Argel. Very active. Can we see a pineapple here? So, in RBI, parang ganito yung principle na fina-follow natin. We do not eat a pineapple just like that. Diba? Hindi natin kinakain ng buo. We slice it, we chunk it. Alright? So, in the same manner, sa RBI, we chunk the content. Our listeners will be able to understand the lesson or all the information presented if we chunk the content into tidbits of information. Alright? So, it's, remember, this is RBI. Our listeners just use their ears. They're just listening. So, that's the challenge. Diba? If they are just listening and they do not see any visual or to support our discussion, how will you present the lesson in a manner that they will understand it clearly, diba? Yung easier, ganon. So, we have 16 principles in writing for radio to help us, okay, write our script just like that. The first one is be brief. Okay, why be brief? Broadcasting is constrained by time. If we are following, for example, SOAP format or school on the air format, we only have 30 minutes. Okay, so maliit lang yun kasi may introduction ka pa, meron ka pang outro, alright, before your main discussion. So in that full 30 minutes, make sure that you will be able to present the topic. Okay? So another consideration that you must take note is the time, attention span of your listeners. So remember, nasa bahay lang yung mga yan, di ba? Tapos, ang daming distractions. So, tingin mo kaya makikinig sila sa iyong discussion if boring ang pinrepare mong lesson? Okay? So, scriptwriters, we should take note of this, yung attention span ng ating listeners. Kasi di ba, tayo nga sa seminar na to, iilan lang sa atin talagang nakikinig. Okay? Kasi minsan, madaming factors poor internet connection, ganyan, o kaya hindi na gusto yung topic. Okay, so yung mga students natin, i-consider natin din yun. So be brief, huwag nang magpaligoy-ligoy pa. Say what you want to say already so that you can finish your lesson in just 30 minutes. Okay, so those are the considerations. That's why you have to be brief. That's the very first principle in writing for radio. The second one is personalize. Ayan, adjust your style, your language, the content of your writing to your kumabasa mong Ron. Hide. To your hide. Yeah. To your intended audiences. Of course, it's very important to know your audience. Okay? Gather information about who your audiences are. Sino ba yung mga audience mo? Parents ba? Professionals, or just children. Okay, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, o kaya in my case, grade 7. So, ano yung mga interest ng mga itong batang para makinig talaga sila sa airing natin. Okay? So, you have to know them, personalize in a way that you'll be able to capture their interest. Okay? Para makinig sila, 'di ba, sa lesson mo. Know their strengths, their weaknesses. And then by that, you adjust your approaches, your treatment sa inyong lesson or sa inyong script. Okay? Also, adjust your vocabulary. Baka naman you're using yung words na very difficult to understand. They're just using their ears. They're just listening. Di naman nila nababasa. So, it would be very difficult for them to understand kung ganun ka taas yung level ng vocabulary nyo. Tapos, ano lang sila? Siguro mga kunyari grade 5, ganyan. Senior high school, makakasunod yan. Pero, it is advisable to use simple language, simple words. Okay, personalize. Next. Alright, number 3 is be clear. Ayan, choose simple words. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina. Simple words that are easy to understand. Okay, never use a long word when a simple or a short word will do. Ito examples niya. Dito ako Ito examples. Kunyari, gusto niyo sabihin, in a timely manner. You can just say on time. O, diba? You were able to save words in your script. Kasi dapat yung script mo simple lang eh. So, kung ginamit nyo in a timely manner, ang dami na yan. Okay? Di naman tayo nagre-require na 500 words. Ano to, essay? Okay? So, short words, kung pwede naman, use them. Okay? Kunyari, you wanna say, incumbent upon. Okay? You may just say must. Okay? And pertaining to, you may just say about. Terminate, o pwede namang end. Simple vocabularies only. Stop. Diba? Lahat tayo na iintindihan yan, even the parents. Okay? For the duration of, during, and then witnessed, so. So, yun yung mga considerations natin sa languages. And so that we will be able to deliver it clearly. Okay? Ba ako dito So, yun po yung number 3. Number 4 is be precise. Okay, use words carefully to provide specific meaning. Ito din yung sinabi ko kanina na say what you wanna say. Unlike in in prints, di ba, yung pag binabasa natin, kuwari, sa article, you can always go back to the sentence that confuses you. Okay? You can always go back to that. Pero yung mga bata, kapag nakikinig ng RBI, sa radyo, they cannot go back. But once you said it already, tapos na. Okay? So, be precise in what you say. Hindi nila iyan mababalikan. And also, yung time natin, 30 minutes na yun, pag nagpaligoy-ligoy ka pa, you use a lot of introductions and a lot of explanations, wala na. Tapos na yung natin, airing, may susunod pang programa, di ba? So, you have to consider the next program, baka math na. So, hindi ka pa tapos sa English. So, it will affect the program of your airing. So, be precise. It's advisable to use contractions daw. Bakit contractions? Ano ba yung contractions? In English, di ba yun yung pinagsasama natin yung dalawang words using apostrophe? For example, don't. Di ba yung do not? Ayan, yun yung mga examples. It's advisable to use this because contractions sound more natural and familiar and it's easier to read aloud. Kapag nagsusulat kayo ng script, you have to consider the broadcasters who will be reading it aloud. Diba? So, kapag gumamit ka ng contractions daw, it will sound natural. Kasi, sa normal conversation, we use contractions, diba? But I don't want to eat outside. I just want to eat here. So, meron mga ganun contractions. Do not, don't, will not, won't, cannot, can't, and does not, doesn't. Okay, for example, ito may sa script na ginamit namin dati. Anchor to or host. Minsan ginagamit natin host, minsan anchor. Pwede rin dalawa. Before we begin, let's have a review of what we have learned from the previous lesson. Ang contracted words dyan ay let us. Okay, so di ba it sounds natural when you say let's have a review. Pwede rin naman let us have a review, pero parang robot yung nagsasalita. Parang si Siri lang. Let us have a review, mga ganun. So, another example. Let's see who can draw the best image. Upload your drawing to your Facebook page at www.blah. And then this one, hindi siya kinontract. We are going to announce the winner on our next episode, and take note, we'll be giving prizes. And then another sentence or another idea is, you contracted. So, bakit hindi mo kinontract yung we are going to announce? Kasi, parang, you are, dito, parang ina-emphasize mo, kaya, yung pangalawa, mas parang excited yung tono. We'll be giving prizes. Ganun, chi. Okay, so, contractions yun. Now, when to avoid contractions? Avoid contractions when you want to emphasize an important point, especially when writing use. Sa mga bata namin, tinitrain namin sila dito, huwag niyong i-contract kung meron kayong gustong i-emphasize. Kasi sometimes, when we do not contract, we emphasize something. Diba kapag kunyari, the senator does not support the freedom of information bill. The way we say does not support has a meaning as well. Diba may meaning yun? Hindi niya sinusupport. Instead of saying the senator doesn't support the freedom of information bill, stronger siya kapag does not support. Okay, so gayon po. When to contract and when not to contract words. Okay, ito, example. Liit. The message is sent, but the receiver does not understand it. Therefore, for the communication to take place, we have to consider conditions. So, in here, we have does not understand it. So, you did not contract because you want to emphasize something. Okay, so as scriptwriter, you have to know contractions. Okay? So, number 5, be concise. Every word must have a purpose for being there. Okay, replace a series of words that means the same. For example, you want to say once a week. When you can say weekly. Okay? Give testimony, you can say to testify. So, isip po kayo ng mga paraan to save space in your script. Okay? Kasi hindi nga ito parang 500-word essay na you need to, to expound the ideas. Sa radio-based instructions, mas maikli, mas maganda. So, kung may mga words na kaya niyong palitan to make it, concise, pero exact yung meaning, you use them. Diba? Dapat broad yung vocabulary ninyo para alam ninyo kung ano yung gagamitin. So, be concise. Yes. Number 6, be concrete. Ito, very important to. Avoid vague and abstract words. Okay, but not too many adjectives. You use words that elicit tangible images. Since they are just listening to radio and they're just using their ears, might want as well help them to imagine. Kunyari, you want to say building. What kind of building is that? Is that a 5-story building? Okay, old ba siya? Modern? Help them, okay, tickle their imaginations. Kasi mababoring sila kapag yung puro salita lang. So, if you are adding descriptions to your sentences, then you will help them understand it better. Okay, kunyari, 200-pound woman. Imagine how heavy is that woman is if you say 200-pound woman. Okay, so always use, or not always, okay, use descriptions, descriptive words. Okay, when not to use adjectives kapag hindi naman kailangan na lagyan ng too many adjectives, ng mga adjectives, wag na. Okay? Kasi ang pangit niyang pakinggan. Hindi na naintindihan ng mga bata. So, ano daw? Okay. So, yung saktong adjectives lang, yung gagamitin natin. So, that's being concrete. Number 7, be informal and conversational. A while ago, Ma'am Rona taught us how to treat our script in you approach. Di ba yung you approach, very conversational siya. Kaya yun yung sinasabi sa amin ni Sir Mark Lester na gamitin. Kasi very effective siya kapag nakikinig ka, di ba mas gusto mo na pakinggan yung parang involved ka. Okay? So ito yung principle ng radio-based instruction na yon. Speak to the audience, not read to them. Huwag kang maglalagay dyan sa script ninyo na kinopya mo lang sa module. Ayan. Sige, kunya baka yung iba dyan, magtatama rin na magawa ng script, kopyahin na lang. Okay, do not do that. Just like when you teach in a classroom situation, classroom setting, ganun mo din ilalagay yung lesson sa script ninyo. Okay? So, kunyari, involve the listeners, talk to them in a normal conversation. For example, did you do your assignment? And then pause for a while, pretending to hear their answers, and then continue. So, involve them. Always ask them, did you eat your breakfast? Ganyan. So, write for the ear, not for reading. Bakit? Kasi, baka i-off na nung mga bata yung radyo kapag super boring ng broadcasters. Kasi yung script natin ay ang boring din. So, you have to consider this one. Be informal. Hindi kailangan formal na formal para kang robot na nagsasalita. Okay, so add some drama. Kaya kunyari yung mga gusto ng mga bata, yung mga sa TikTok ngayon, o kaya yung mga basta i-involve mo sila kung ano ba yung interest nila ngayon. Next. Ito yung example. Okay, an example is, hindi ko mabasa, Mamrona. Ang liit. Ayan. I'm very excited to be with you, my dear student listeners. This is the first episode of Oral Communication in Context, and I hope you are excited as well. So, yung you approach dito, ibig sabihin ginagamit mo yung you, in-involve mo sila, kausap mo sila, kasama mo sila. Okay? So, yun po yun. Before we begin, just make sure that you are in a comfortable place, in a copy of module and answer sheet, a pen and your notebook. So, kausap mo talaga sila dito, hindi lang yung parang nagsalita ka lang. Okay? Another example sa Filipino naman. Siguraduhin ninyong kayo ay nasa komportableng lugar at maayos na nakakapakinig ng ating broadcast. May tanong ako, or matanong ko lang, kumain na ba kayo? Ayan, tapos yung pause dyan, mamaya ay... Oo nga po, ma'am. Mamaya, tuturuan namin kayo kung kailan gagamit ng mga ganon pause. Kasi instructions yan na susundin ng ating broadcasters. And as scriptwriters, you should know those things. Ayan. Kumain na ba kayo? Tapos, yung host to sasagot. Ayan, very very engaging kung merong host to. So, scriptwriters, pwede kayong magdalawang host or anchors dito para sagutan yung dating. Sabihin, ako Ma'am Rona, kumain na. Mabuti kasi kung may laman ang ating mga tiyan upang maging alerto ang ating pag-iisip at maayos na maunawaan ang ating aringing araw. So basically, sagutan siya. So be conversational. Para hindi boring, di ba? Pakinggan yung ano. Ayan. So number 8. We're halfway through our slides. Principle number 8 is be readable. Of course, broadcast copy must be smooth and readable. Very, self-explanatory. Kasi tayo, scriptwriter, pero minsan hindi tayo yung broadcasters, di ba? Hindi tayo yung magbabasa ng ating script. So, dapat malinaw at maayos yung instructions na isusulat natin as scriptwriters. Okay. Another reminder, avoid sibilant words. Ano yung sibilant words? Words with letter S and Z. Okay? Yung mga, or may mga tongue twisters, di ba? Nga, sa inyong script, nakalagay doon. Sadly, Sam sold 7 venomous serpents to Sally and Cyrus in San Francisco. O di ba? Nag-ano na yung magbabasa, yung broadcasters nyo nalito na, tsaka nabulol na. And we want to avoid that. So, avoid sibilant words. Ay, yung mga tongue twisters, di ba? Unless yun yung inyong topic, tongue twisters. Okay, next. Avoid alliterations too. Ano ba yung alliterations? These are repetitions of usually initial consonant sounds in 2 or more neighboring words or syllables. Ayan, ito iwasan ninyo. Kunyari, looks like lions love licking lizards. Okay, di ba parang ako nga nabubulol eh. Looks like lion love licking lizards. Okay, yan. Hopefully, Harry's home will have heat soon. Zach, the zookeeper, reads his zodiac zealously. So, avoid daw natin yun kapag maglalagay tayo sa script. As much as possible, substitute words na hindi magkakaparehas ng initial consonant sounds. Okay? Pabilis ba ako, Ma'am Rona?
Hindi naman.
Okay, next. Avoid homonyms. Ano yung homonyms? Avoid din natin to. Bakit? Each of 2 or more words having the same spelling or pronunciation, but different meanings and origin. Why do we need to avoid this? Because the broadcasters may read it differently. For example, address ba to or address? Okay, kasi yung address, the word itself, has meanings, okay? Has different meanings. Kunyari, ito ba ay to speak to or location? O, paano babasahin ng broadcaster? So, also, yung word bright, it could mean very smart or intelligent or filled with light. O kaya yung fair, it could mean equitable or it could also mean beautiful. So, yung mga words na may meaning pang iba, we want to avoid them sa script natin. Okay? Number 9. Okay, we have 16 principles and now we're in number 9 already. Ito, very important. Observe the one idea, one sentence rule. Sa mga bata natin na nagre-radio broadcasting, ito yung lagi nating sinasabi, no? One idea, one sentence. Kasi we want to avoid overcrowding. Anong ibig sabihin ng overcrowding? There are too many ideas in one sentence. Okay? At bakit natin dapat i-avoid yun? Kasi nakikinig yung mga bata sa radyo. Hindi naman sila nagbabasa, nakikinig sila. So, if there are so many ideas, they would be confused already. Diba? Pagkakasabihin nila, ano daw? Ayoko na makinig, enough na. Hindi na sila nakasunod eh. So, you might want to chunk the contents, okay? And then, simple sentences. Hindi lang tayo nag-i-impress dito or hindi tayo nagsusulat, okay? Kapag radio broad or radio-based instructions, better if it is in simple sentences. Kasi, mas naiintindihan yun. Okay, allow them to absorb what you have said first, okay, before you jump to another idea. Ayan pa, the more ideas included in one sentence, the more difficult it is for the audience to understand the information presented. Diba? Kahit kayo, malilito kayo if there are too many ideas. So, for example, ito script na to, overcrowding. Tinan nyo, basahin natin. Medyo pagod na ako. Sir Argel, andyan ka ba? Sir Argel?
Yes, ma'am.
Sir Argel, pakibasa naman po. Yung
Ito naka-box.
Aba, sir. Thank you.
All right. Imagine a situation where we are not able to speak and interact with others, or think of living in the same house without speaking to each other or relating any form of message to one another. Such situation can, diretso ko pa po,
Sige po, sir. Sige, sir.
be very lonely and problematic. Without communication, all forms of human relationships will vanish and die. Communication is therefore crucial in building and maintaining relationships.
Oh, very nice, Sir Argel. Thank you po for reading. Ang ganda ng pagsasabi niyo, no? Talagang bihasang-bihasa na kayo sa RBI. Okay, so what did you notice here? Diba, in the first sentence, there are too many ideas that you need to absorb. Diba, imagine a situation where we're not able to speak and interact with each other o one idea na yon. And then, think of a family living in the same house without speaking to each other, another idea. Or relating to any form of message to one another, so another idea. So, kung gusto nyong maintindihan ng mga bata, yung pinapa-imagine nyo, i-chunk nyo. I-chunk nyo siya. Okay? Stop muna dun sa with others. Di ba, Sir Argel, hindi hahapuin yung broadcasters ninyo kung simple sentences lang yan. Okay? So, tinan niyo yung last sentence. Communication is therefore crucial in building and maintaining relationships. Ganon. May mas ma-emphasize ka kung ganon lang kaiikli yung sentence niyo sa script. Okay po? Nakakasunod pa po ang lahat? Kantahan ko kayo dyan. Sige.
Yes,
Kung
ma'am.
hindi. Thank you po. Thank you. Next. Yeah, number 10. Last 6 principles. Attribute sources at the start of the sentence. Ito din po ang tinuturo namin sa mga bata sa Radio Broad, no? Use active voice. Bakit ba ginagamit natin ang active voice sa radio? Kasi yung important idea is already presented in the first sentence, at the start of your sentence. Kunwari, Catanduanes representative has called for an investigation of the reported leakage of this year's licensure examination. So, sino yung nagpatawag ng investigation? Okay? Nakapresent na. It's nice to hear that the idea is already presented at the start of your sentence. So, hindi na sila maghihintay pa. Ang dami mo nang nasabi, tapos nasa last na yung idea. So, Catanduanes representative, siya agad yung naka-present sa unahan. Okay, so ang hintay na lang ng mga bata is anong ginawa niya. Alright, so yun ang principle number 10, use active voice. Next. Yes, number 11 is prefer indirect quotation. Ito ay hindi natin ginagamit yung direct quotation, yung ganun, sa radio-based instruction. Bakit? Kasi hindi naman nakikita ng mga bata yung nakalagay sa script. So if you're going to write, for example, the president said, agriculture needs to be improved throughout the country with the quotation mark. Weak siya. Okay? Better if you're going to write it this way. The president said that agriculture needs to be improved throughout the country. Okay? So, ano yung sinabi ni president? He said that, ganon. So, it helps in creating a smoother, readable copy. Now, if you want, kung gusto mo ng talagang yung sinabi ni President, kasi mahalaga yun sa discussion mo, sa lesson mo, you may want to add a soundbite. Okay, later Ma'am Rona will teach you how to add a soundbite. Paano ba tayo maglalagay? Kunyari, the President said, tapos meron nakalagay, may magpe-present na audio clip na yung exact na sinabi ni President, agriculture needs to be improved, ganon. Sa technical yun dinidiscuss. Pero kailangan alam nyo as scriptwriters kasi yung babasahin ni technical, susundin lang naman nila yon. So dapat kayo ang nakakaalam, kayo magko-command nun. So sinong Rona magtuturo sa inyo mamaya kung paano nyo ilalagay yun. Okay? Hindi lang kasi ako nakalagay na example. Pero mamaya, I'll show you an example of a script with yung mga ganon. Sound bites and music backgrounds, gano'n. Alright, number 12. Number 12, provide phonetic spelling for unfamiliar words or jargon. Ano ba yung mga jargon? Yung mga technical terms, okay? Marami to sa math, sa science, di ba? For example, yan, La Mesa watershed is a reservoir. Okay? So, kung si broadcaster is hindi familiar with the word reservoir, baka sabihin niya, La Mesa watershed is a reservoir. Kaya aartihan niya, reservoir o reservoir. So, hindi niya alam kung paano bigkasin. As scriptwriters, dapat nilalagay na natin kung paano siya bibigkasin. Bakit? Kasi may pagkakataon or may chance na gamitin itong script ninyo sa ibang schools, sa ibang divisions. Kung napakaganda na or very commendable yung ginawa ninyo, pwede natin ipahiram ito sa ibang schools and yung broadcasters nila ang magbabasa. So, kung hindi sila familiar, then baka magka-trouble sa pag-air nila. Okay? So, provide phonetic spelling or for unfamiliar words or jargon. Next. Number 13. Use transition words. Okay, yes. Kasi it helps our students to visualize or to connect one idea to another. Okay? Yung mga transition words ay, eto for example, first, second, third, kung marami kang ideas. Okay? For example, for instance, specifically. Okay? Ano pa yung mga transition words na ginagamit natin? Additionally, again, besides, okay? Ito may example ito. Ayan, may example na ako. Okay. Sige nga po, basahin mo, Sir Argel ulit. Okay lang po ba? Magaling ka kasi magbasa eh.
Sure, ma'am.
Sa yung naka-box na red.
Okay po. Before we begin, just make sure that you are in a comfortable place, a copy of the module and the answer sheets, a pen and your notebook. All right. Now that you are ready, let's start the lesson.
Okay, thank you po. What did you notice here? Okay, may two tayo, no? Yes, Sir Argel?
Ay, hindi po, sir. Ay, ma'am. Sorry po. May pinapakinggan po kasi ako. Sorry po.
Opo, akala ko, Sir, ay nagsalita ka. Sige nga po. Anong napansin natin? Multitasking kayo. Okay, sir, hindi na kita tatawagin.
Okay lang po, okay lang.
Okay lang. Sige. Before we begin, so meron po tayong transition dyan kasi ang dami niya sinabi sa unahan. I'm very excited, blah, blah, blah. And then, meron ka dito before we begin. So, anong gagawin ng mga bata? Iisip nila ano yung kailangan nilang gawin bago mag-start. And then, all right, now that you are ready, so meron ka dyoong transition na before ganito gagawin nila. And then, now that you're ready, so alam nila, ready na sila. Okay? So, meron tayong magandang pagkakalatag ng ating mga ganap sa script na yon. Alright? So, yun po ang ibig sabihin ng using of transition words. Ayan, meron pa. So, if a graphic novel or graphic fiction has pictures, what about flash fiction? Habulol. Okay, so, meron ditong pag-connect si Anchor 2. Okay? So if ganito is ganito, what about this? Alright, so napakahalaga ng mga transition words. Ayan, last 3 principles na. Okay? Number 14 is to repeat the message if necessary. Okay? Bakit ito mahalaga? Sige, try natin. The number to dial is 536-2437. If you're not going to repeat that, tingin nyo masusulat ng mga bata, ay ano daw ma'am? Okay, depende kung Jollibee yan, alam na alam natin. alam natin, di ba? 7,000 Jollibee delivery yon. So, ito ay hindi nila hindi sila familiar. Okay, so dapat iaano mo sila. Give them time to absorb what you said and then give them also time to jot down, okay, in their notebook. So the number to dial is 536-2437. Again, call us at 536-2437. So may pag-pause din at saka may pag-repeat. Okay? So sa script ninyo, may repetition, especially kung napakahalaga, okay, very important ng idea na sinasabi ninyo. For example, ayan, presentation of the topic. For today's topic, we have the functions, nature, and process of communication. Again, our topic is the function, nature, and process of communication. Okay, so may time to absorb and then to emphasize as well. Okay, kasi napakahalaga niyang repetition. Emphasis kasi yan. Okay, next, number 15. Use abbreviation or acronym sparingly and properly. Okay? Kapag kilala na yung acronym na yun, you may use it. But if it's not that familiar to students, then do not use it. Kunyari, DOH, alam na natin lahat yan, di ba? Alam din ng parents yan. Lahat na may kinig. So, you may say, the DOH budget is cut down to blah, blah, blah. So, pag nagsusulat kayo sa script, kaya hindi nyo siya i-DOH talaga. Di ba DOH, magkakadikit yan. Sa script ninyo, lagyan nyo ng hyphen. May space siya. D-O, hyphen ba yun? D-O and -H. Okay? Why? Because the broadcaster who will be reading your script might say the DO budget is cut down to. Okay? So, ano yung DO? Huh? Okay, so the DOH. Next, the International Monetary Fund or IMP. Ito, di ba? Hindi naman natin lahat alam na yung IMP pala is International Monetary Fund. So, dapat buuin nyo yan sa script. Okay, before writing IMP. Has approved, blah, blah, blah. Okay, next. Excited matapos. Lastly, handle figures properly. Ayan. Round off figures tayo. For example, almost 100 graduates have also filed a petition. Okay? I-ano nyo, round off, instead of saying 97 or 107, okay, 100 na lang. Okay? Almost 100. Bakit? Kasi mas smooth siyang bigkasin ng broadcasters. Tingnan nyo ito. Wala pala akong example. Avoid beginning sentences with a person's age. Okay? Avoid nyo daw sa beginning sentence with any number. Okay? Yan, i-screenshot nyo to kasi kapag chinek namin yung inyong script, mamaya, dapat wala kayong ganito. Alright? And also spell out dollars. Diba kapag kunyari, 49 pesos, 50 pesos, tapos nilagay nyo yung P, okay, hindi maganda sa script niyo kasi babasahin niya ng broadcasters. So, dapat pesos. Okay? Ano pa? Kilograms, huwag niyong ilalagay yung ano niya, yung mga abbreviations. Yung meter, M lang, hindi. Okay? Baka kasi hindi mabasa ng scriptwriter, ng mga broadcasters. Remember, hindi lang ikaw yung, ikaw alam mo as scriptwriter, tapos ikaw din yung mag-broadcast, alam mo yun. Well, what about yung others na magbabasa nun? Kung hindi ikaw yung broadcaster. Diba? Next, spell out fractions like 1/2. Okay, huwag mong ilagay yung 1 tapos yung number 1/2. Dapat readable, yung nababasa. 5.5, yan, ganyan. Spell out numbers which are used at the beginning of the sentence. Yes, spell out numbers from 1 to 10. Ito, kapag 1 to 10, spelling. Yung spelled out siya, yung O-N-E for 1, ganun. Pero kapag lumampas na ng 10, meaning 11 hanggang 1 million, 1 billion, okay, you may use numerals na, yung numbers. Okay, 11 na ganun, 999, diba? So, yun po. I'm done na. Alright, so those are the principles in writing for radio. I know there are so many, pero yan ang pinaka-basic na dapat malaman ninyo as scriptwriters. no? Yan, pwede nyo yung screenshot. Be brief, personalize, be clear, be precise, be concise, be concrete, be informal and conversational, be readable, observe one idea rule, attribute sources, use active voice, prefer indirect quotation, provide phonetic spelling, use transition, repeat message, use abbreviations sparingly, and handle figures properly. Also, last reminders, di ba pag nagko-compose tayo ng song or poem, may mga kino-consider tayo. So, ganun din po, pag nagsusulat tayo ng script. Okay, speech has rhythm. The way we speak, okay, it has rhythm. And it should be kept in mind when writing a radio script. Dapat lagi yun nasa isip na ito ay maririnig, i-air siya. So, papaano nyo gagawin na papakinggan siya ng mga bata? Okay, creativity is the key, and being able to, deliver in a conversational manner, very important. So, yun po. Those are the principles of radio script writing. The next topic will be discussed by Ma'am Rona. Ito na yung kung paano kayo magsusulat sa script. Now that you know how to treat your script, kung anong approaches ang gagamitin, and ano yung mga principles na sinusunod, yung mga rules naman to write your script. Ito na.
Thank you po. So again po, I am Mrs. Rona Tere from FEBMS. So ngayon po i-discuss ko naman po yung guidelines in preparing the radio script. So pero po bago ko siya i-discuss, recap muna tayo dun sa na-discuss natin kanina para dun sa mga nahuling pumasok about treatments and approaches of script writing. So yung una nga po natin ay yung teacher approach. Okay, so sa teacher approach, gagamit tayo ng pronouns in the third person. So yung they, yung them, so mas visible. And then remind ko lang din po na lahat ng approaches na yon na nabanggit natin ay meron tayong anchors. So si anchors, sila yung sa intro kasi may intro, lesson proper, and then extro po yung broadcast natin. So sa intro and then sa extro, pwede po si anchors. Then si radio teacher po, siya naman po doon sa lesson proper po natin. And yung different approaches na yun po ay nakikita po natin sa lesson proper part po ng ating script. So second approach na nabanggit natin kanina, meron bang makakapag-recall?
Oh, check.
Ma'am Maylin Postrado, nagtawa.
May
Ano nga po ba yung may Gcash? Magpapadala si Ma'am Badet. Ano yung second approach natin kanina?
Dramatic approach.
Dramatic approach.
Very good po yung dramatic approach natin. So, i-present naman po natin yung, si Ma'am Badet, tinitingnan niya kung sino yung unang sumasagot.
Si Ma'am Lauralie.
Magpapadala siya ng Gcash. Pakasend na lang po yung Gcash number niya sa kanya. Okay, so yung dramatic approach, i-present naman natin po yung lesson natin na parang nagkukwento tayo, may story tayong bubuuin. So, andun pa rin si anchors, sa intro, sa lesson proper, andun na po yung story natin. So, merong characters tayo, may conflict, so, depende po yan. Pwedeng light drama or pwedeng, kung gusto nyo, drama yung story na gagawin natin. So, yung dramatic approach, maganda siya sa science, sa AP, yung mga history. Yun, maganda po siyang ilagay doon. Then, third approach natin is yung you approach, which is visible naman po yung gamit ng pronouns in the second person, which is you. So, in this approach, directly pong kinakausap ni radio teacher si students. So, and then fourth approach natin is, hindi ko na ma-recall. Nag-blanco na. Fourth approach natin is dialogue approach. Ayun. So, sa dialogue approach naman, parang meron tayong, parang yung Mars, yung show nila Miss Carla Estrada. So,
Taray.
meron kayong host, yung anchors, kasi nga sa radio tayo, and then meron kayong invited guests. So, sila yung tatanungin ninyo about sa topic, sila yung sasagot. So, in that manner, madidiscuss na po yung lesson natin. And then, next po is yung medyo mahirap gawin, yung documentary approach. So, dito magagather yung script writer, matrabaho din sa kanya to kasi magagather siya talaga ng, or sa tulong na rin ng broadcasters, magagather po sila ng interviews, okay, para ilagay po doon sa kanilang broadcast. May singit doon, may ilagay sa script, may ilapat ni technical po doon sa broadcast piece po ng kanilang grupo. So, hindi lang iisa. So, magagather kayo ng maraming voice clips, interviews, okay, para sa documentary approach. At saka, para mas maging credible talaga yung gagawin nyo. So, and then last one po, yung for literary arts lang po natin na pwedeng gamitin yung symbolic approach. Kasi yung students yung i-interpret po nung tawag dito, nung message po. Kasi parang abstract sounds lang, abstract visuals or audios yung gagamitin natin doon. So, punta na po tayo ngayon sa guidelines in preparing the radio script. So, mahalaga po na masunod natin yung format na ipapakita namin para hindi mahirapan yung magbabasa ng script. So, yun yung mga broadcasters, yung anchors natin. So, kapag ibinigay natin sa kanila, and then sa technical din po, kasi siya yung magre-record or gagawa. Hindi na natin kailangan pang ipaliwanag isa-isa, and then uniformity na rin po ng RBI script po natin. So, first one, ay ako pala. Okay, first one is the page layout. So, ito po yon. So, sa page layout po natin, so meron po tayong 1-inch left margins or 2.54 centimeters po ng margin. So, kapag po nag-open po tayo ng Word document, so ito na yung nasa normal. So, wala na po tayong babaguhin. So, hindi na natin gagalawin yung sa margin aspect. So, second one po is the technical directions. So, we must be aware na all caps siya. So, ito yung mga technical directions natin, yung theme, music, fade up, fade under 4. So, ibig sabihin, may papasok na music. So, medyo palakas siya. And then, ihinaan bago may papasok na OBB. So, minsan po, may nakalagay dyan ng 5 seconds, 3 seconds. So, pwedeng meron, pwedeng lagyan nyo, pwedeng wala. So, depende na rin, na-adjust din kasi to. So, depende na rin sa technical po natin. So, kapag nakalagay dyan, 5 seconds, ibig sabihin 5 seconds siya na medyo malakas, 3 seconds din siya na parang nasa up yung tunog niya. So, meron tayong tinatawag na OBB dyan. So, mamaya magpaparinig kami ng sample ng OBB. So, pwedeng may OBB or pwedeng ang gamitin na lang natin ay station ID. So, hindi naman po, porkit OBB po yung nandito sa sample natin, ay kailangan din namin gumawa ng OBB. So, sa mga baguhan po kasi, pero po sa bagay naman po yung ano natin dito, yung bahala pong gumawa nito ay yung technical directors natin. So, minsan sa mga baguhan, medyo mahirap matrabaho po siyang gawin kasi mag-i-edit pa po sila. And then, ayan po yung anchor 2, ibig sabihin, siya yung unang magsasalita. Yan, kasama yan sa technical direction natin. Then, ito si anchor 1. So, nakikita po natin na yung mga words na to, all caps, naka-underline. Yan po yung mga copy blocks. So, ibig sabihin, hindi po siya sasabihin, hindi po siya babasahin. So, hindi po siya, yung broadcasters natin at saka anchors natin, ito lang po yung babasahin nila, yung nasa tabi. Okay. Next po, spacing naman tayo.
Ano naman yung height?
So, sa script writing po, double space po yung gagamitin natin. So, bakit po? Kasi, makakatulong po yan sa technical directors natin, sa broadcasters natin, sa anchors natin. Kasi kapag medyo dikit-dikit minsan, di ba, parang nakakaduling tingnan. So at least double spaced, may spacing in words, mas madaling basahin para sa kanila. And then, page numbering or heading. So ito yung halimbawa ng heading natin. So lahat ng pages ng script natin sa taas ay may ganyan. So ano yung nakalagay dyan sa heading? Okay, DepEd, DASMA, Radio. So ano yung pangalan ng station name nyo? Then August 24, 2020. Kailan ibo-broadcast yung script ninyo? Okay, then page 2 of 12. So kung nandun sa simula, page 1 of 12. So anong page na to? And then ilang pages lahat meron yung script na ginawa ninyo. So page numbering. So yung sample natin may may period siya. So pwedeng wala na yan. So number na lang. So why is it important? So for example kasi you are working with your teammates for a radio production. And then for example, yung isa nagkamali. Madali lang sabihin na Miss Badet, pwede po bang pakiulit yung line number 4, page 2 kasi parang medyo nagbakal ka doon. So, ganon. So, and then, lalong-lalo na po ngayon. So, nasa work from home tayong lahat. So, hindi tayo pwedeng mag-broadcast, mag-record ng sama-sama. So, share ko lang din yung ginawa namin nila nung cluster 1. Okay, nung gumawa kami ng piece namin para sa radio production, nung AP, music, ESP, MAPE pala ang ESP. So, yung ginawa namin, kasi every Friday, yung slot na binigay sa amin, so every Friday, we make sure kaming script writers, by Monday or Sunday, tapos na yung script na gagawin na naka-assign para sa amin. So, natapos na si script, isi-send na namin yon sa broadcasters and then sa anchors. So, kanya-kanya na silang kuha ng lines nila doon. So, re-record nila sa bahay. Tapos, ang recorded nila, isi-send naman nila sa technical director. So, si technical director, siya, makapakikinggan niya lahat nung ni-record ng broadcasters, ng anchors, kung okay ba. So, minsan, hindi natin may iwasan, may time na medyo may dumaang jeep, may time na medyo napunta kayo doon sa medyo kulob na bahay nyo, ma-echo yung record. So, kung may page numbering, yung script natin, madali lang sabihin ni technical na, "Uy, Miss Badet, yung line number 10, pwedeng ulitin mo, 10 to 12. So, yan, ganyan ka-importante or kahalaga yung page numbering natin. Next po is, yan.
Next.
Ayan. So, ito na yung halimbawa. Ayan, so nakikita natin dyan yung heading. Tapos, ito yung tawag dito. Anong tawag natin dito? Basta dito lang nakalagay yung info nung script nyo. Title, so yan na, laging nandyan yan. So, radyo kaalaman, kasi ito yung ginawa na radyo kaalaman yung station na ginawa namin para sa Araling Panlipunan 5. So, anong grade, anong subject, din topic, so partisipasyon ng iba't ibang sektor sa pakikibaka ng bayan. So, yan yung lesson na i-discuss namin. Yung format na sinusunod natin, lagi na rin nakalagay ito is School on the Air. So, galing sa region po yan. So, length, 30 minutes. So, depende po kung ilang minutes i-air yung script or yung lesson na naka-assign sa inyo. So, nakalagay dito 30 minutes. Then, pangalan ng script writer or script writers. Then, objectives of the lesson. So, minsan, nagkakamali tayo kasi napapagbaliktad natin yung topic tsaka yung objectives. Tsaka minsan, naglalagay na lang ng objectives yung iba. Tapos, pag binasa mo yung script, hindi naman yun yung, hindi naman yun yung na-discuss doon sa script niya. So maging maingat po tayo dyan. Tsaka, ito naman ay kinukuha natin sa MELC. So ito, bis insert ZOA program ID. So ibig sabihin, yung unang maririnig, yung bis na yan, hindi rin namin alam kung saan nanggaling yan. So ibig sabihin, music may papasok. So, pwedeng tanggalin nyo na yan, pwedeng nandyan din yan. So, ibig sabihin, may program ID muna na tutugtugin. Yun muna yung maririnig ng listeners. So, usually, ang nag-uusap talaga dito ay si scriptwriter tsaka si technical. Pag may hindi na intindihan si technical, kay scriptwriter siya magtatanong. Tapos, si scriptwriter din yung mag-feed ng kinakailangang ilagay doon ni technical. So, pag ma-discard si technical, pwedeng siya na rin yung maghanap ng mga sounds na kailangan doon. And then, yan. Bis, music fade up. Ayan na naman si Bis. Nakita na naman natin. Pwedeng tanggalin na rin natin yan. Music fade up for 5 seconds. Ibig sabihin, tutugtog for 5 seconds or mananatili doon sa lakas na 5 seconds. Then, hihina ulit. Papasok na ngayon si anchor. So, ang ginawa namin, kung sino yung anchor, yun na talaga yung pangalang sinulat namin. So, yan yung script niya. Then, another anchor. Ayan. So, yan yung simula ng script natin. So, malinaw na po ba? So, mapapansin nyo, naka-capital letters, yung technical directions, yung babasahin nila ay ganyan lang. So, para makita natin nila yung variation. Unang tingin pa lang nila, alam na nila na, ay, ito hindi ko babasahin. Okay, next po, yun na, line numbering. So, line numbers, sinabi ko na nga kanina, at the far left-hand side of the page. So, make sure that the numbers corresponds to the lines. So, yung script writers, after pong magawa natin yung script, review nyo rin po, kasi minsan, nagagalaw to, yung numbering dito. So, magkakalituhan kapag merong mali na nakalagay dito. Halimbawa, minsan kasi puyat na tayo, pagod na, antok na. Ang numbering natin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Parang inulit mo, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 19, parang ganon. So, double check po natin yung line numbers kasi mahalaga din po yan. Next po, source of sound. So, can be found at the left portion of the page. So, indicate the type of sound to appear. So, kailangan ilagay natin para hindi mahirapan si technical director na maghanap ng sound na gusto nating gamitin. And then, name of character should all be typed in capital letters. Okay, nasama lang po yan dyan. So, eto yun. So, source of sound, infomercial music, kasi sa infomercial part to. So, background music instrumental, happy. So, pag nakalagay yung happy na yan, si technical director, mag-search lang siya sa YouTube ng background music na happy. So, pag may nakita na siya doon, tatanungin lang niya si scriptwriter, okay na ba yung music na to? Okay, so, sasabihin ni script, okay na yan, or minsan ikaw na bahalang maghanap, basta happy music yung nakalagay dyan. Then, SFX, ibig sabihin ito, sound effects. Okay, sound bites. Poem Padre Faura witnessed the execution of Rizal by Danton Remoto. So, isa-search lang din ni technical director eto dun sa YouTube kapag may makita siya. So, kapag walang nakita si technical director, inilagay ni scriptwriter, ibig sabihin meron siya. So, pwedeng sa kanya hingin ni technical director. So, SFX for sound effects. Okay, na ilalagay natin. So, yan po yun. So, ito nakalagay dito, theme music. So, yung music na usual lang na ginagamit nila, then fade out. Ibig sabihin, pawala. So, start sa malakas, pawala. Okay, so, yan. Bis, music fade out for 5 seconds and fade under 4. Ayan na naman. Pwede nang tanggalin natin yan si bis na yan. Kung gusto nyo nandyan, pwede rin ilagay nyo na lang. Sound effects, clapping hands, or applause. Okay, nasa-search naman to sa YouTube ni Technical Director. So, madali lang yan. So, makikita nyo rin, mayroong command kami dito na pause, nasa gitna. So, direction din yan. Kasama din yan doon. Kaya lang nasa gitna siya, ibig sabihin, gagawin nung broadcaster. So, ibig sabihin, pag nakalagay yung pause dito, titigil muna sila bago nila basahin yung kasunod. Pero naka-all caps siya and then bold letters, ibig sabihin, hindi kasama sa babasahin niya. So, kasi minsan pag guide na rin niya ng broadcasters natin, tsaka ng anchors. Kasi minsan, di ba, hindi tawag dito, tuloy-tuloy yung pagbabasa natin. For example, meron tayong gustong word na kailangan tumatak talaga sa isip ng mga listeners natin. So, titigil tayo doon. So, halimbawa, ngayong linggo ay pag-aaralan natin ang partisipasyon ng iba't ibang rehiyon at sektor, katutubo man o kababaihan sa pakikibakan ng bayan. So, pause muna kayo doon. So, pag-aaralan natin ito ngayon, so ibig sabihin, importante yung part na yon, yung words na yon sa pag-introduce ng topic ng lesson. Music cues. Ayan. So, nakikita nyo kanina may nakita tayong word na music, MSC. Okay, so pwedeng buong gamitin natin yung word na music, pwedeng eto lang din. So, appears on the source of the sound column. So, pag may sound na papasok, yan ang ilalagay natin. So, bahala na kayo kung gusto nyo buo or eto lang. Then, description of music appears in copy blocks. So, yun yung sinabi natin kanina. Technical, as one of the technical directions. So, naka-capital letter siya, naka-bold letters. So, all instructions for music are all in caps and underlined. So, naka-underlined and all caps. Sound cues. So, ito na yung kanina, yung sound effects. So, appears on the source of sound column then. So, description then again appears in the copy blocks. So, capital letters, naka-underline. So, ito yon, words to be spoken, type in uppercase and lowercase letters. So, everything that will not be spoken, all caps. So, lahat ng hindi babasahin ni broadcasters, ni anchors, nakasulat ng all caps and naka-bold letters. So, directions to actors or talents, all caps, but not underlined. So, yung katulad kanina, yung word na pause. So, naka-all caps siya, naka-bold letter, pero hindi naka-underline. So, ito yan. Okay, same lang din ang halimbawa kanina, technical directions, pangalan ng anchor, may papasok na music, yun, all caps, underline. Ito, direction lang doon, direction lang na ibibigay instruction para sa broadcaster at sa anchor, magpo-post sila, all caps, but not, naka-bold, pero hindi naka-underline. Okay. And then yung sinabi pala ni Ma'am Badet kanina, natutuwa, yung voice clip. Okay, so ang maggagawa kasi talaga doon ay mga technical directors natin. So for example po, may voice clip kayong isisingit. Ang nakalagay lang doon, Romney, tama ka dyan partner, tapos may close and open parenthesis lang kayo dito sa kalagay insert voice clip. Hindi nyo na isusulat, yun, voice clip of President Duterte, mga ganon. So, hindi nyo na isusulat lahat nung sinabi niya doon sa voice clip. Kasi, ipapasa na lang doon sa technical director yung voice clip na galing kay scriptwriter or galing man kay broadcaster. Okay na po? Okay, next. Dividing words. So, never divide a word across a page or a word between lines. So if a paragraph or sentence carries over to the next page, try to break the copy at a comma or natural pause. Newscaster can change pages more easily. So ito yon. So for example, ayan, si Sir Romney, siya yung anchor. Ito yung sasabihin niya. Ano-ano naman ang mga naging dahilan ng mga pag-aalsang ay hindi nagkasya nandito sa baba. Pang-ekonomikong naganap sa panahon ng mga Espanyol. So, mali po yan. So, for example, hindi po nagkasya doon, ibaba nyo na rin po yung number 28. Siya yung magiging number 1 dito. So, ganyan. So, nakita nyo yung pagkakaiba. So, ibinaba ko na lang yung buo niyang sasabihin dito sa next page para hindi putol. Kasi, yan din yung dahilan minsan, lalo na pag live broadcasting, nagkakamali si broadcaster o si anchor ng pagbabasa kasi hindi niya alam, meron pa palang nandun sa dulo. Or yung putol ng pagbabasa niya, hindi maganda. Okay, naintindihan po?
Sa sila.
Next po. Yan, matatapos na tayo. Ay, may isa pa pala. More and end marks. So, use more to signify additional page on the scripts. Ibig sabihin, may kasunod pa. And then, use end number or 30 to signify the end of the script. Kapag tapos na, yan ang ilalagay natin sa dulo. Yan. So, more. So, ibig sabihin, may kasunod pa. So, nandyan yan sa gitna, naka-center, capital letter. And then, eto, asterisk yung ginamit niya. So, ibig sabihin, eto na yung last page ng script. Wala nang kasunod. Kasi minsan pag nagpapasahan, lalo na din nga pag live broadcasting, pag hindi natin nilagyan ng ganyan, akala nung magbo-broadcast, tapos na, yun pala may nalipad lang na isang page. So, hindi pala tapos yung binasa nila. Or minsan, siguro mga kabado na, minsan, di ba, pagkabado tayo, parang lutang, nawawala. Hindi natin napansin, ay, oo nga, no, hindi pala tapos yung script natin. Eh, hindi nyo napansin. Okay. So, ito yung kanina, title of the lesson. Okay. So, ito sa panghalimbawa. Title, DepEd Radio for Grade 11, 21st Century Literature from the Philippines and the World. And then, yung topic nila, conventional and 21st century genres. Then, school in the air, ulit ang format, 30 minutes. Yan yung mga scriptwriters. And then, yung objective. Okay, so mga examples na lang po to. Ayan. Guidelines in writing for radio. So, common terms in scripts, ilan lang to. So, intro, so the introduction part of the program. So, pwede siyang theme music kapag meron kayong ginawa, binuo, OBB, pwede siyang station ID, pwede siyang station program or introduction of the anchors. So, minsan pag medyo hindi pa techy, yung bago-baguhan pa lang, dati, ito lang yun yung simula, walang music sa simula, introduction lang ng anchors. Good day, Philippines, o ganun na agad yung maririnig after ng music. Pero ngayon kasi level up na. So, meron ng nalalamang OBB, meron ng theme music, meron ng station ID, meron ng station program. So, kapag wala kang ganun, kapag ganito lang kaagad, anchors na agad ang magsasalita, parang walay ka na kaagad. Okay. At yung sample station ID, ginawa to nila Mambalaso. So, gawa nila mismo to. Wait lang.
Walang click. Huwag mo na click. Yan, click lang.
Sa DES po to, hindi ako nagpaalam.
Okay lang yan. Trainer din naman sila.
Nakita ko lang sa drive. Ayan.
Yung ginamit natin last time.
Yun sa,
Play kayo.
sa cluster.
Ano yung
Naririnig niyo po ba yan doon sa broadcast po nung cluster 6?
Wala na.
Station bago.
Siguro lagyan na rin natin sa dry ay sa para may guide sila. Ano yun? Tapos na yung ito.
Okay, narinig niyo po?
Yes
Okay,
po.
so, sariling gawa po nila yon. Teacher din po nila yung kumanta nun. Ikaw pong nandito yung kumanta nun. Okay. So, next po, tignan ko kung anong sample naman to. OBB ata. Okay, so ito naman ay gawa ng mga bata namin. So, yung simula nito ay OBB yung ginamit nila. Okay, anchor muna yung...
Nanay, I draw a dump truck and this.
Yan po ang OBB. Ayun. So, yun po yung OBB, yung mga pinagsama-samang voice clip po. Okay, na inedit naman ni inedit po ni technical director. Next.
More on sa technical na kasi yan.
Oo, more papio lang po to kasi ngayon sa technical.
Para lang alam nila.
Yan yung example. Okay na, yan, extra naman. Okay, so ito yung last or exit part of the program, which is anchors na po yung magsasabi niyan. Yung ayan, and that was the lesson for today. Again, I am saying keep on learning. Okay, so bahala na po kayong gumawa kung paano nyo i-end yung program ninyo. Stinger, short clip of music that can be stinger. Used to introduce and or link various sections of an audio. So usually kasi sa broadcasting na normal dati sa mga bata, ginagamit natin to kapag, for example, iniisa-isa nila yung headlines. So ito naman, pwede nating gamitin kapag, for example, may mga examples kayong ipinipresent sa bata, iniisa-isa nyo, para makita lang yung hiwalay nyo ng mga words na yon. So ito yung halimbawa niyan. Yan, maiksi lang. Apples. Grapes. So after nun, magsasalita. Pineapple. O halimbawa, nag-iisa-isa po kayo ng fruits. Kinds of fruits. Okay.
Kakainin ko ngayon.
Saan?
Gutom na ako magbroda.
OBB, opening billboard. So, ano na kanina. Okay, so okay na po. Tapos na yung topic ko. Okay, so punta naman tayo sa last topic natin. Okay, si Ma'am Badet na po.
Last na po.
Ikaw na.
Ay, ako na. Ano mo yung...
Ay, stop. Ako mag-share. Ito na yun.
Ayan na yun. Ay, hindi.
Ayan na yung food namin. Yay! Nag-feedback, ma'am. Yan, gutom na po ba ang lahat? We only have one topic left, so bear with us. Diba? Ay, may question po dito si Ma'am Janine at si Sir Jeff. Hi, Sir Jeff. And good day po, ma'am. Pwede po kaming makahingi ng copy ng recording natin for today. Pwede ba?
Oo, naka-record.
Naka-record naman po ang ating meeting. Siguro po sa classroom natin i-upload or i-ano yung link. Okay, we're done with the approaches and treatment of radio script writing. We're also done with the principles and how to write your own script. Now we're down to the last topic, and this is the SOA for remote teaching and learning. Anong ibig sabihin ng SOA, Ma'am Rona? This is School on the Air. Ayan. Okay pa po ba kayo? Magla-lunch na, no? Kaya natin matapos na ng 10 minutes kasi introduce lang namin kayo sa gagawin natin, no? I'm very excited to share this with you because many of us will take part in making this modality in our own schools. Diba? Yung North, nagsisimula na sila, yung ibang mga schools. And also sa school namin, parang lalagyan na rin kami ng local radio station eh. So, we're also preparing for this. So, ang SOA is School on the Air. Okay? Let's start with the functions of radio. Syempre, we all know that the functions are to entertain, to inform, and the highest function is to educate. Okay? So, yung to entertain, di ba ito yung mga, mga ginagamit ng lolo natin, di ba? If you don't have any access to television or internet, so especially nowadays, yung mga nakatira sa far-flung areas, yung mga sobrang layo, wala silang internet, at wala silang signal, wala silang TV. So, what they have is radio. Okay? So, ito yon, to entertain themselves, makikinig sila. Yan, example niyan is radio drama. Okay? Yung napapakinig natin, minsan nakikinig din ako niyan sa radyo. yung mga stories na sinusubaybayan ng aking mga lolo't lola dati. Next, the second function is to inform. Of course, basically radio is one of the great sources of information. Whenever we don't have access to internet or television, we use radio to get information. Naalala ko dati, parang nag-brown out kasi sobrang lakas ng ulan tsaka ng hangin kasi meron siyang bagyo nung that time may bagyo nun. So, ang meron lang kami is radio. And nakikinig kami doon kasi battery lang naman yun tsaka yung signal kailangan mo. So, napaka gandang way niya to reach to people na walang way para ma-inform sarili kundi iyon. Kasi nalaman namin na signal number 3 nga and nakapag-prepare kami. Ganon. So, the second function is to inform. The last function and the highest one is to educate. Ito yung School on the Air. Perfect example is the SOA. We use School on the Air as a channel of instruction. Okay? We educate our students through radio. And nowadays, there are many programs sa school that offer this kind of learning. And what is their ultimate goal? It's to educate students. Okay? So, those are primarily the 3 functions of radio. So, what is School on the Air? Ano ba ito lagi nating binabanggit pa kanina and what we're going to do? School on the Air is a special designed radio program where subject matter is presented systematically and in progressive manner with the ultimate goal of achieving desired result under a teaching-learning situation. So, ang School on the Air is basically you're bringing the classroom to a radio broadcast. Okay? So, ano ba siya? Systematically and progressive manner kasi meron tayong prepared lesson na pine-present. Okay? And what's the ultimate goal? Siyempre, para ma-achieve natin yung learning. Diba? The techniques employed are instructional, although broadcasts are not under classroom conditions. Students listen in their homes by themselves or in groups. Ayan nga po, napaka-accessible nito kasi pwede silang makinig sa bahay lang nila. Comfort of their homes. And pwede rin makinig, kunyari, malalapit lang naman yung bahay ng classmate nila. So, they can listen in groups. Also, pwede rin ninyo itong gamitin asynchronous rather, sa klase ninyo. Pwede nyo sendan ng link, recorded radio broad. Ibig sabihin, pre-recorded na siya, isasend nyo siya, tapos papakinggan ng mga bata. Okay, pwede yun. Diba? So, ayun nga po, school, binibring natin siya sa mga bata through the radio. Okay, next. Ayan, there are subject areas. Next. There are subject areas that would be presented, diba? Lahat ng subject kasi natin pwede nang mai-air Kunyari, English, Filipino, Math, Science, AP. Yan, okay? Tapos, ayun po, i-air natin. Radio is instantly connected to everyone by just turning it into the station. Yun po yung ibig sabihin ng slide na yun. So, what are the characteristics of School on the Air? Ito po yung mga bagay na dapat alam natin. Number 1, it has a set of clearly defined objectives. Okay? Di ba pag nagagawa tayo ng lesson plan, meron tayo laging objectives or sa mga lesson exemplars natin, di ba may objective lagi. So, lagi natin tatandaan na kapag clear yung objective natin, ay ma-attain natin yung gusto nating mangyari sa radio broad natin. What do we want to achieve? Ayan, etong pagkakahayag ng objective dito ay medyo wag nating tularan. Understand the nature of process of communication. So, hindi siya measurable. Paano mo masasabi na naintindihan nila? Diba? So, dapat measurable siya. Explain. Yan, pwede yan. Kasi, meron talagang masusukat mo kung talagang naintindihan nila kasi kaya nilang i-explain. Diba? Napaka-basic niya. Smart. Natandaan niyo yun sa paggawa ng objective. Dapat smart tayo. S, specific. M, measurable. A, attainable. R, ano yung R? Smart. Ano
Realistic.
yung nalimutan ko. Yes, Ma'am Arlene.
Realistic.
Basta tapos hindi time bounded, alam ko eh. Okay? Basta yun, kailangan consider natin yun. Ito bang objective na ito ma-achieve in just 30 minutes? Kung yes, lagay mo yun. Okay? Huwag puro objective. Dapat consider niyo yung time natin, 30 minutes lang. So, dapat specific tayo kung ano ang gusto nating i-achieve sa araw na yun or sa broadcast na yun. Next is well-planned. Of course, di ba, kaya nga tayo nag-training ng ganito is we want to have a well-planned lesson pag in-air natin. So, everything must be prepared and completed before the start of the school term. Itong ginagawa natin is a perfect example of that. Di ba? 29 na ako. Oh my God. So, yun po. Number 3, composed of a single definite subject matter. Just like what we said a while ago, di ba? Isa-isa lang. Huwag mong gusto mo, kunyari, nagdi-discuss ka ng subject-verb agreement, tapos nagpasok ka ng pronouns. Okay? So, dapat, sa 30 minutes na yun, isa lang. Okay? Para ma-target, yung target goal natin ay ma-achieve. Di ba? Number 4, subject matter is presented in a progressive manner. Topics should be systematic and successive order. Just like in classroom setup, di ba? Kapag nag-discuss tayo, simple to complex activities ang pinapresent natin sa bata. So, yung una, i-present natin yung objectives. Pangalawa, i-motivate natin yung bata. Okay? Hindi natin agad bibigyan ng napakabigat na activity. Pangatlo, yung discussion proper. And then pangapat, mga activities na yan. And then number 5, yung ating post-test. Yung i-assess na natin sila. So, it should be systematic and successive order. Kasi wala naman makikinig kung super gulo ng ating script or yung ating ini-air. Diba? Pati mga teacher broadcasters natin, malilito na. Imbis na maganda yung ating lesson. Yan. Number 5, a cooperative project of radio station and a cooperating agency. Yung mga local radio stations natin ay kipag-ugnayan na, no? Nagsimula na tayo mag-air yung last year, di ba? Dun sa North. And also, yung mga ibang schools ay nagmi-meeting na rin. And I think bibigyan na rin yung ibang schools ng radio station. So, be prepared. Yung mga nakikinig dito, kaya kayo nakikinig, kaya kayo tinitrain is kasi possible na may ma-air or gamitin nyo ito sa inyong mga class, ay sa inyong mga schools. Okay? And that was made possible by DepEd, diba? Kasi as much as possible, they would like to reach to all students, yung wala ngang maiiwan na estudyante. No one is left behind. So, kailangan natin explore ang modality na ito. Ayan, so, ano ba yung phases? So, alam na natin yung SOA. Okay, ano yung phases naman and mechanics? Madali lang. 3 phases lang meron tayo sa SOA. Pre-broadcast, broadcast, and then the post-broadcast activities. Anong meron sa pre-broadcast? Yung bago kayo mag-broadcast, syempre, preparation, alright? Preparation, of course, syllables. Enrollment campaign. Anong campaign to? Kampanya ba ng mga politika? Hindi. Magka-campaign kayo in a way na i-encourage nyo sila na makinig sa radio. Sino ba yung mga may kakayahan na makinig sa radyo? Thank you. Okay? So, pre-broadcast examination, ayan yun. Writing of radio scripts, ito yung gagawin natin mamaya at bukas. And then recording of lessons and lectures. Yan po yung mga bago mag-broadcast. So, syempre, alam niyo naman na kailangan bago tayo sumabak sa isang gawain, kailangan well-prepared tayo. Next is broadcast proper activities. Ano yung ganap sa broadcast? Okay, yung sa pinaka-broadcast ninyo. Ito yon. Number 1, i-orient nyo yung mga bata. Okay, what do they need to know? What they need to bring? Kunyari, kailangan nila ng module dun sa broadcast na iyon or sa lesson na iyon. And how will they use the self-learning modules that they have at home. Okay, so orient nyo sila kung ano ba mangyayari sa broadcast niyo. Number 2, of course, it's very important to motivate our students. motivate niyo sila, syempre, na makinig kasi mamaya hanggang umpisa lang sila tapos i-off na yung radio. Hindi na nakinig. So, sayang. Okay? So, you can do it by, magpatugtog kayo ng mga songs na in sa kanila, TikTok, ganyan. O kaya yung mga, yun nga, trivia, ganyan. Gusto ng mga bata yung jokes, di ba? Drama, dialogues, anything na makakapag-motivate sa students just by simply asking them, kamusta yung mga halaman nyo dyan sa inyo, di ba? But connecting to them, mamamotivate nyo yung mga bata makinig. Number 3, ito na yung in-broadcast test. Okay, itatest nyo syempre yung broadcast, kung maganda ba yung dating sa mga students, sa mga listeners. Monitoring students' progress. Ito yung, ito pala yung katulad ng ginawa natin kay Ma'am Rona kanina, pre-test, ganyan. Okay, may ganun din, post-test, pre-test sa inyong airing. Number 4, monitor students' progress. Yan yun, activities and tests. Modification of broadcast methods, visits to students. Not applicable yung visit to students kasi hindi pa tayo pinapayagan mag face-to-face or yung actual visit. Okay, so yun po. Post-broadcast is yung pagkatapos ano bang mangyayari. Ayan yung mga gagawin natin. General course review, i-present niyo ulit sa kanila kung ano ba yung ni-lesson. Okay? Ano ba yung mga MELCs na na-achieve? Ganun. Post-broadcast exam, ayan yung mga final assessment ninyo. Conduct follow-up activities, evaluation of SOA program. Evaluation, kayo na yung gagawa niyan. Okay, kung effective ba? May mga rooms for improvements ba? Ganun. Okay, ayan, ito na. Last na po, teachers. Okay, ito yung samples school on the air format for 30 minutes. Ito yung suggestion na gagawin niyo sa script kasi kayo yung utak ng ating broadcast. So, kung ano yung nasa script, yun yung susundin ng broadcasters at saka ng technical. Kung masyadong mahaba, nag-exceed na sa 30 minutes, maapektuhan yung program, di ba? So, opening, ang dito ay 1 minute lang. Kaya ano ba yung mga intro ninyo? Yung pinresent ni Ma'am Rona kanina, pwede kayong kumanta, pwede kayong kung ano-ano kayo, basta ma-introduce yung inyong programa. Okay? Asan ba yung script ko dito, Ma'am Rona? Wait lang. Meron kasi ako ditong script
Stop sharing ako.
Huwag na. Okay na yun. Sige, i-upload na lang po namin yung mga pinresent namin na scripts at saka videos that you can play mamaya sa inyong mga lugar. Okay? Para tal din malaman ninyo. Kunyari, ano ba ito? Ba't nandiyan na tayo? Dito pala. Ayan, yung sa lesson program, feedback portion, yung mga, kunyari nagpa-assignment ka last broadcast ninyo, o kaya may pinagawa ka, feedbackan nyo. Okay, ano ba yung naging result last exam nila or assessment, nagpa-assessment ka. Ito yung feedback portion, 5 minutes lang, okay? Tapos eto intro kunyari, good day my dear grade 11 students, this is Teped Radio, School on the Air, we're glad to have you with us and learn through the radio. I am your host, Bernadette Lontoc, tapos yung pangalawang host, and I am Rona Tere from FEBMS, diba? Ganon. So, wala na ako. Kunin po yung opening intro tsaka yung feedback. Review of the previous lesson, optional. Kasi kung nagsimula ka lang ng week 1 from that particular module, then wala na tong review. Okay? Pero kung meron, 5 minutes. And then, ito importante, musical break. Bakit importante yung musical break? Kasi nakakaumay kung puro kasalita, di ba? Kailangan meron ka rin chill ng sa mga bata, sa mga tagapakinig. Then, lecture of the day, 10 minutes lang. Tinan nyo, 10 minutes lang yung lecture. So, dapat be precise, parang yung mga principles, pag i-combine nyo na together, ando na yon. 10 minutes, dapat tapos nyo yung lesson. Dapat may natutunan si bata. Okay? Ganun kabilis yung airing in SOA approach or SOA format. Tapos, after nung lesson ninyo, magkaroon kayo ng brief review. Same din sa ating klase, no? Ganito din sa SOA. Brief review of the day's lesson. Review nyo sila kung ano ba yung diniscuss ninyo. Bigyan nyo sila ng something to think about and something na to answer. And then, announcement or reminders, closing, kung meron kang papasagutan sa Facebook, sa ibang social media, or sa ibang, yun yung time na i-announce nyo sa huli. 2 minutes. Plus, the extra, yung extra ng inyong program. Okay, so yun po ang SOA. Ito, feedback mechanism, pwede kayo mag-letters dyan. Email, kasi di ba wala tayong face-to-face, puro online tayo, yan. Feedback forms yung sa mga suggestion box. Station visits, hindi pa muna. Siguro pag pwede na face-to-face. Material incentive text, yan. Yung pinaka, text message, calls, ganun. Wala na. Okay na. So we're done with the School on the Air for remote teaching and learning. Now, if you have questions, we encourage you to